I'm Becky, and welcome to Peri Menopause, Thriving and Surviving. I am a 48-year-old woman going through my change of life, and the change of life is not just being in the change or being done with your period. The change of life is all the crazy symptoms that you go through prior to being done with your cycle. Basically, the things we aren't told, and nobody likes to talk about, I'm not sure what all the hush-hush is about with women, because we really should be sharing with our children, our grandchildren, to let them know what's up. And most women just don't want to talk about those things, Oh, well, I had some hot flashes. That's about all you hear. My skin changed a little, You don't hear all the gory details, and not every woman's experience is the same. For instance, did you know that there are 66 symptoms of perimenopause? Perimenopause being the phase, the years prior to you going through menopause, which menopause is you've been without a cycle for 12 consecutive months, no period. That's when you're in your change of life. That's when you've gone through your change of life and you're considered in menopause. Until then, you're in perimenopause, which is basically, in my opinion, it seems to be puberty backwards, because you get all the same crazy stuff, your hormones go crazy. My skin is breaking out worse now than it ever did when I was going through puberty. So let me just read you the 66 symptoms of perimenopause, because a whole lot of women have no idea that what they're experiencing is actually a sign that they're going through their change of life, that their hormones are fluctuating. Number one seems to be change in menstrual cycle. So your cycle could become shorter, it could become longer, it could be lighter, it could be heavier, there could be flooding. Number two, menstrual flooding. So, like I just said. 3, headaches and migraines. Now, I did experience this. I'm now, what am I? 9 years into my change. I started at 39. It's when I got my first symptoms. I had no idea what was going on. And now in the last 2 years of this perimenopause stage, I started getting migraines 3 days like clockwork before my cycle every month. Horrible migraines. And the day my period came, it would ease up. The next day, completely gone. Second day, gone. Now it has shifted to where I'm getting a migraine usually the 3rd or 4th day after my cycle is ended, which for me is when I'm ovulating. Not everybody ovulates the same. I know I'm ovulating because I get the ovulation cramps. Number 4, decreased motor coordination or clumsiness. This is a real thing. I bump into things. I stumble all the time. I lose my balance so easy it's ridiculous. I feel like a toddler. Number 5, being lethargy, where you just don't want to do anything. You're lacking the energy to do a lot of things. Number 6, crashing fatigue and physical exhaustion. This has been one of the worst symptoms for me. It has been severe. Like those days leading up to my cycle, like I will get to about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon doing my gardening and chores, and suddenly I just feel like if I don't take a nap, I'm gonna fall out. Just complete head to toe body exhaustion. Number 7, exacerbation of chronic illnesses or a condition that you have. I suppose, like, there's a lot of people that have Crohn's disease and stuff like that, and their body, because your hormone levels fluctuate so much with estrogen and progesterone during this time of your life, it seems to make those symptoms much, much worse. Number 8, insomnia. This is a real thing, people. I can go to sleep just fine a lot of nights, but come 2 a.m., for some reason, I wake up, go pee, another symptom, and I am awake till 6 o'clock in the morning. And by 6 o'clock in the morning, there's no point in me going back to sleep because I have gardening and cooking to get done. So yeah, and it can be also people just can't sleep. I hear of women that can go 2 or 3 days where their body will not let them go to sleep whatsoever. And it doesn't seem to matter how much they take out of their diet. It doesn't seem to change things for them until they just get through whatever this phase is. Number 9, sleep disturbances. The same thing. Basically, you wake up for no apparent reason, or you start, for some reason, a lot of women experience nightmares during this phase. Fears will come out in your dreams and wake you. Like the worst thing in the world, we all go through this too, where we're going through this change, and for some reason in our mind, we're always expecting the worst thing to happen. And those fears catch us in our dreams and they wake us up. Night sweats. I have not experienced this a whole lot. There has been a few times where I've woke up pouring sweat. I did in the beginning a couple of times. The first couple of years, I would wake up once every few months just drenched in sweat. Thank God that was not a nightly thing for me. But some women suffer with this badly. I feel so bad for them. Now, I probably experience it once a year, but it's usually because my husband has messed with the thermostat before he went to bed. I keep my house on 68 at night so that I'm cold and I curl up in the blankets and sleep good. You know, and that's very important, is to be comfortable when you go to bed. Being a little cold is a good thing when you go to sleep because it's been proven that you sleep much more soundly. Interference with dream recall. A lot of people say they've experienced this, like they just can't remember their dreams for no reason. You know, they can't recall anything in their dreams. They know they woke up, they had a horrible dream, but they don't remember anything about it. I don't know about that. It's possible. Muscle cramps, horrible. This one I experience quite often throughout this whole experience, all over. For the last 9 years, I've had weird muscle cramps just out of the blue. I think for me, the worst of it has been my ankles and my calves. But I experience it on different places in my bodies. My shoulders, for some reason, it's muscle loss. When you're approaching 40 and there throughout, you lose so much muscle mass every year. If you're not using it, you definitely lose it. You get weaker. And that's supposed to be normal. And I suppose if I was one of those women that was willing to go to the gym every day and kill myself, you know, maybe I could avoid this, but I work hard in my garden. I work hard in my yard. I work hard at my businesses and in cleaning my house. Where I'm going to fit in, also getting a workout at the gym it's just not in the schedule for me. You know, I'm not extremely overweight. Right now I'm at 132. I just put 10 pounds back on. Yeah, 10 pounds because I was at 122 a couple of months. And then I started eating bread and whole grain cereals. And lo and behold, 2 months later, I've packed on 10 pounds. So cutting that back out of my diet. Okay, lower backache. This happens to me a lot. My back can't sit without some type of support for very long because my back will start spasming. And sometimes even with support, it does. Like long road trips are brutal for me. When I go home to Kentucky, by the time I get there, my back muscles, my lower back hurts so bad that I just check into my hotel and just sleep, you know. And then coming back home, yeah, same thing. Just I come home, take my shower, unpack my stuff, and just climb in bed, recuperate, because my back is just spasmed. Gallbladder symptoms. A lot of women end up having their gallbladder removed during this time. If you're experiencing gallbladder symptoms, then, you know, like when you eat, you feel severely bloated no matter what you eat. Go to the doctor and get your gallbladder checked out, because, you know, even young women and men, my son has a gallbladder issue. My daughter-in-law had hers removed at 22. And I think that also falls in line with all the crap they put in our food nowadays. Our bodies just don't process those chemicals and those GMOs and stuff like they should. Let me see. Frequent urination. Oh my God. Like I have days where I feel like I go pee every 10-15 minutes. And it's not that I'm flooding myself with liquids, because I'm not. I'm drinking the same amount of liquids throughout the day as I did 10 years ago. But those muscles weaken and we go to the bathroom more often. You know, what is it called? Vaginal prolapse, I think, where those muscles just start failing down there, and you're not holding your bladder like you used to. And we end up having to use pads because if we cough or sneeze, we pee on ourselves. It's not a fun stage. I have now been, realistically, ladies, I have wore a pad, just a thin liner pad now, every day for at least 2 years, just because I have severe allergies and I sneeze all the time. I cough to clear my throat all the time just because of allergies and acid reflux. So, and some women have to go in and get a bladder sling or a mesh put in because they just pee on themselves completely. And it's got to be humiliating. I know I have been driving down the road and had a coughing fit because I had such bad acid reflux, which is part of this change stuff too, that I wet myself. I had to turn around, go home, shower, and change clothes, and then go back out and do my thing with a pad on. And it's very embarrassing, you know, for a lot of women, and a lot of us don't feel like we can talk about these things with our husbands, most certainly, because let's face it, men don't want to hear about it, and they're not very supportive. I got lucky. My husband's pretty supportive. All right. 16, we just covered that too. Urinary incontinence. Yeah, absolutely. And I guarantee you at least 90% of women in perimenopause experience this. Not a fun time of life. 17, hypoglycemic reactions. This is where I did go through this a couple of times where I had eaten and stuff like that, but my blood sugar just seemed to drop, and it was just the strangest thing. So when I was going through that, I started taking a couple of teaspoons of honey so that I could get my sugar back up to where it needed to be, to where I'd feel good. I don't know why that happens. It's just one of those things, another uncomfortable thing where you just feel sick to your stomach, you start sweating, shaking, you know, it just sucks. Food cravings. Well, let's put this into context. It's not that you're craving good food, it's that you're craving junk. At this time in your life, this is when we find ourselves carb loading. We're living on potato chips because we just want to munch all the time. Potato chips, Little Debbie snack cakes, don't do it, y'all. Don't do it because you'll pack on those pounds so quick. Increased appetite. Yeah, your appetite does increase here and there. A lot of women experience this in extreme bouts at different times of the month where they have a day, and I have to assume this because of those hormone fluctuations. You know, your estrogen is either skyrocketed that day or it's really low and your progesterone's really up, something. And you just feel ravenous. You know, I have had a couple days like that where no matter how much I ate, I just felt like I was full or I was starving all day long. And it wasn't that I was dehydrated, because I drank plenty of water. I even put my electrolytes in check by making sure that I took in some Gatorade those days. It wasn't that. It was just my hormones. Let me see. Dark circles, number 20 is dark circles under your eyes. I don't have that, but I see a lot of women do get that. And I'm going to assume with our skin changes that we go through, like, I think that a lot of that, the dark circles, between the skin changes and lack of sleep that we end up with, like some nights, I feel like I'm lucky if I get 3 or 4 hours of sleep, because once I awoke for some reason, then I have trouble going back to sleep. So I'm sure those dark circles under your eyes are a lot to do with that. Increased tension in your muscles. Yep, absolutely. I was just talking about, that was another part of that one I was talking about earlier, or the lower back ache, where your muscles just feel exhausted and tense and tight. My shoulders get it really bad. Joint and muscle pain. Absolutely a horrible thing. There's days where my joints just throb. I don't know why. It's not a weather thing, because Florida's pretty consistent, hot or rainy. My joints will just throb. My muscles will ache for no apparent reason. You know, it's not that I use those muscles for anything. It's that they're just doing what they do. Increased hair loss is 23. A lot of women complain that their hair is falling out by clumps. Now, this could be because of several things. You could be anemic. You could have a vitamin D deficiency. It could be hereditary. There are things. So make sure you get your blood levels checked, because with anemia, I did notice my hair would thin out a lot. I'd brush my hair and hair would just fall. So I don't have a vitamin D deficiency, but my best friend Patty Cake does. But she's a housebound woman. Like, she lives in her home with her thermostat set on 66 degrees year round, even in the winter, because she's gone through her change, or had been going through her change of life, and she just never has been an outdoorsy woman. She is a Florida housewife, where she cooks, she cleans, and takes care of the kids and goes to the grocery store, and that's the extent of it. And she's always been super pale, and I kept telling her, you need to get outside more. You got to get outside. You need sunlight. Well, lo and behold, her hair started falling out in clumps. Like, I could see her scalp all over her head, and it didn't help that she's a blonde, you know, and she just started feeling so sick and so exhausted all the time. She went to her doctor, and lo and behold, vitamin D deficiency. So get your levels checked, lady, to find out why your hair is falling out. 24, increase in facial hair. Oh yeah. I get waxed, and I pluck my mustache quite frequently. I get my eyebrows waxed. I get my upper lip waxed. In between, I pluck little stray hairs that pop up. Even on my neck, I have like 4 or 5 little hairs that pop out. They're black. I feel them with my fingertips. You know, so I am the queen of tweezers. I have them in my car, my truck, my purse, my bathroom, my little vanity travel kit. They're everywhere because I am not going to be one of those women that people see facial hair on. I refuse to be that woman. I have another friend, you know, it's like when I talk to her, I think she's just 5 years older than me, but when I talk to her, she's got these long black hairs on her face. And I feel like the only thing I'm looking at are those facial hairs when I talk to her. It's very distracting, but I don't want to be that horrible person that says, you need to go get waxed, you know, or you need to go pluck yourself. I don't want to be that person because surely to God she can see it in the mirror. And I know the lighting in her home is much better than mine, but put that stuff in check, ladies. Unusual hair growth. I'm just going to assume that coincides right there with increase in facial hair. You know, that's number 25. So, yeah, hair can pop up in the weirdest places. Even around your nipples, ladies. And that's a horrible place to get it, but I've heard of it happening. God forbid. 26, like I was saying, acne. You know, you're in reverse puberty. So yeah, it stands to reason with your hormones going crazy and you know, you're experiencing estrogen dominance and stuff like that, that you're going to get acne. 27, infertility. Now, I'm not sure why women over 40 would want to have children in this day and age. You know, but I'm not judging you. More power to you. But let's face it. The older we get, the less viable our eggs are. And the more chances of the baby coming out with Down syndrome and stuff like that go up. So a lot of women start complaining that, you know, they're trying to get pregnant, but they're struggling. Well, if you're going through peri, well then your eggs, you're getting fewer and fewer eggs every month. So, you know, and those eggs are getting to be pretty weak and shriveled at this point. So that's, you know, par for the course. Loss of breast tissue. This is the point where your boobs start sagging. If you had those pretty little perky boobs, you can say goodbye to those because gravity is going to take over, and with the loss of tissue in our skin, the loss of what is it called, estrogen, and the loss of the cell breakdown, basically, your skin doesn't support like it should. It's not holding things firm anymore, and so it's going to pull. And believe me, you're going to feel that pull. I noticed it kick in 4 years ago, and some days I can't stand to even have a bra on most of the time now. Like the pressure of it, it's irritating. You know, it feels like squeezing the life out of me. It hurts my breast. My breast stays sore. It's like I've always had a sore breast around my cycle, but now it's intense. And you feel that skin, the gravity pulling. So that's a real deal, and it's horrible to go through. It is very painful. I get breast pain that is unbelievable. All right, so 29 also, breast soreness, tenderness, and pain. Yeah, there's something for you to look forward to if you're not already, because it is awful. 30, painful or tender nipples. Yes, I had an experience where it felt like my nipples were raw, and there hadn't been anything to irritate them, but it's just one of those things. Sometimes you just sensitive in areas where you shouldn't be. 31, okay, cold extremities. Now, my hands and feet freeze. You know, that's something I've had most of my life, but now it seems to be pretty intense. I fight with anemia, iron deficiency, and that has a big part of it too. So another reason to get your blood levels checked, make sure your iron's in check, your B12's in check, make sure your magnesium's where it's supposed to be. Let me see, 32, being accident prone. Like I said earlier, with the motor coordination and clumsiness as part of the symptom, I bump into things all the time. Like for some reason, I can't seem to take a corner nowadays and without clipping something. You know, I come out of a room and I hit the corner every time. I don't know why, but if you're noticing bruises popping up on your body, it's probably because you're bumping into things all the time. For some reason, we just forget how to walk around something, or I'm not sure. It's really weird. 33, hot flashes. Whew. Boy, these have kicked my butt in the last few years. Now, it doesn't help that I live in Florida, which everything about Florida, even our winters are hot. But we also have humidity. And our humidity makes it intense. Now, on top of that, I garden. You know, I grow my own vegetables and flowers and stuff like that. And then I also am an avid angler for bass fishing. So not only do I have hot flashes, but the Florida heat kicks my butt. And it makes you more susceptible to heat exhaustion. So be careful, ladies, during this time. I have now resided for the last 2 summers to not go out on the fishing boat with my husband during the months, usually the end of June through the middle of September, because usually when we go out, we're out 10 to 12 hours in the intense sun fishing for bass in different lakes and stuff, and my body can't do that now. There's a lot of things you're going to discover that your body is not going to let you do during this change of life, you know. And it doesn't mean that you're weak, you know, or helpless, or, you know, don't feel sorry for yourself. It's just part of our rite of passage into our crone. It's just part of our rite of passage into our croneness, you know, where we become the wise old crones in the family. You know what? Pass on that wisdom to your children, to your grandchildren. You know, if you only have sons, then try to make your sons better husbands for their wives, because their wives are going to go through this too. And teach them to be understanding and supportive of their wives, because some husbands really, really aren't. So let's just, let's focus all this that we're experiencing into good for the future generation, so that they keep passing it on, so that they know that the change of life is more than, you know, a change of periods and some hot flashes, because God knows it is so much more. Let me see here. Loss of libido. Well, the loss of libido for me seems to be after ovulation. There's like a 2-week period where I just have no sexual desire whatsoever. But the days leading up to my cycle, I notice my sex drive increases. And then during my cycle, you know, well, we're not going there. That's, you know, that's a no-go. And then after my cycle, I notice my sex drive increases again, you know, because I'm getting ready to ovulate. Well, that's your body trying to get knocked up. Make sure you prevent that, girls, because a lot of women get pregnant by accident during this time of their life, and then the next thing you know, you're 44 years old and you're pregnant because that month your eggs decided to be fertile for some reason. So if you're not wanting the late in life baby, then make sure that you are using some type of protection after your cycle, because that's your ovulation kicking in and saying, hey, get me pregnant. Painful sex. This is real and it's horrible. I experienced it for a while, and my ex-husband was a jerk. That's all I can say. He was not supportive about it. You know, not only was our sex life centered around what he wanted or when he wanted it, but if my body couldn't do it, he was a jerk about it. So that's the reason why I'm divorced. But seriously, painful sex is real because you experience vaginal dryness, which is the next symptom, and also the thinning of tissue down there. So it can feel like you're being stabbed down there, or you'll have, you know, severe muscle cramping inside your vaginal cavity, and it's just not pleasant. Go to the doctor and see what your doctor has to say about that, if they can help you out in any way with something, some type of cream, something. So yeah, the vaginal dryness is hand in hand with painful sex, and make sure that when you do have sex that you use a really good lubricant. And some of the best on the market, honest to God, a doctor told me, is the coconut oil or corn oil, because it's natural to your body. Coconut oil is closer in resemblance, I guess, to our body's own pH. So it's unlikely that you're going to experience a yeast infection from using that. And corn oil is going to break down really easy there. Dizziness or vertigo, number 37. This has affected me severely. Lighting. And certain lighting can cause it to trigger. Actually, it was one of my very first symptoms of Peri. I had been potting up something in my garden, and it was a good sized pot, and I was bringing it onto the porch so that it was out of direct sunlight. And I bent down and picked it up and walked over to the porch, and all of a sudden it felt like the whole world spun on me. And I dropped to my knees and I yelled for my husband, because I hadn't experienced anything like that in my life. And it can stick with you throughout this whole experience and on. Vertigo can be affected by several things. The little hairs in your ears or something can get out of whack. You could have fluid, you could be retaining fluid behind your eardrum, and that can cause it, as well as just your change of life with your hormones. I did notice also, not only did lighting affect it and large areas like a hallway or going into a grocery store or Walmart, the lighting in those stores is horrible, and for some reason it messes with me. So I've learned when I go into those stores, I wear my sunglasses to help break down that lighting to where my vertigo is not so bad. This does work. It really does, ladies. And also the long aisles and corridors when you're walking in those stores, well, our instinct is to look around at everything constantly. You can't do that anymore, because it does make your vertigo act up. You've got to move your head slowly, and you've got to try to remember to keep your head at a tilt, kind of like this, so that it throws off that, or it offsets the vertigo feeling that you're experiencing. The worst that you can do with vertigo when you're having those bad vertigo days is look down. It's horrible. And also, another thing that affects it, the weather. When the barometric pressure suddenly goes way up or drops real low, so really suddenly with the weather change, I experience vertigo. I've had it so bad that I've crawled through my house to get to my bed. my husband has had to half carry me through my house because I've had days where it has dropped so fast or it's gone up so fast that it kicked in my vertigo drastically. So, yep, there's something for you. Fortunately, most women don't experience that, but those of us that do, it's not pleasant at all. 38, tinnitus or ringing in the ears. I did experience ringing in my ears, not very often, but I think what I experienced the most over the last year was hearing things were more intense, like when I'm listening to a video on YouTube or something, I've turned the volume down because I feel it in my ears and it's uncomfortable. It's a strange sensation. It's very loud. So that's something. Abdominal bloating. Some things will affect me that way to where within an hour after I eat, my stomach bloats out and I look like I'm 6 months pregnant. Real thing, girls. 40, weight gain. Absolutely, you're going to gain some weight, but you can take control of it. Cut out the grains, cut out the breads, especially white bread from the grocery store. That is the worst stuff in the world for you. Cut down on your pasta intake, cut down on rice, cut down on potatoes, starches and stuff like that. And yeah, just grains and starches and stuff will make you gain weight at this stage. Your body is not functioning like at the level it used to. So you're not burning those calories and those sugars and those starches like you used to. Your body has slowed down. Your metabolism has slowed down. So start watching what you eat and take note when you've eaten something and you've gotten bloated. Write it down someplace so that you know to avoid that the next time. Fluid retention, edema. I do notice my hands get tight. You know, certain times of the month my hands will start feeling really tight. You know, a lot of women get this severely. Their legs, their ankles will swell. My mom's ankles swelled up so much she couldn't hardly walk. Her ankles and her feet. So just keep an eye on that and make sure you go to the doctor if you're experiencing that. You know, it could be a blood pressure problem. It could be several things. 42, palpitations or racing heart. Yeah. All I can say is holy heart racing Batgirl, because that is something that will make you flip out. It will scare the life out of you the first time you have it, and the second and the 10th time or the 50th time that you experience that. Like, I haven't had it a lot. 2 years ago, I had it off and on for a few months in that year. And there was one night where I had my husband take me to the hospital because it just kept happening. And this is just part of it. It's another thing. Also, you know, it can be because you have a vitamin deficiency, because your magnesium might be low, your B vitamins could be low. Iron deficiency will also cause this, and anxiety attacks. So make sure that, you know, you get those blood levels checked. So if you start experiencing the heart racing, it could be nothing at all, or it could be a vitamin deficiency. Just make sure you get checked. Let me see. Irregularities in your heart rate. That's where, yeah, same thing basically. Like, your heart rate could be down in the 70s, and then for some reason just shoot up to 120. And you feel it when it's happening because you feel that course going through you. So it's the same thing. Constipation or diarrhea, number 46. I've experienced both of these. Some months I'm constipated, and some months my body just decides it's going to clean itself out. So there's another horrible symptom. All right, 47, candidiasis, oral or vaginal yeast infection is what that is basically. And I did go through bouts of this for about 6 months, where for some reason, it's just hard to get it balanced out down there. Everything's changing so fast that you start getting yeast infections all the time, and in your mouth. I had it a couple times in my mouth, and I was like, what in the world is going on? It's just sometimes it's hard to get things balanced out. When that happens, I buy the coconut water wipes from Summer's Eve, and I clean myself a couple times a day down there, because that is close to our body's own pH to keep things regular. And I also start drinking coconut water if I experience it in my mouth. It's not comfortable in any place. 48, lack of appetite. Very few women experience that, but if you go through anemia, you will experience that. Where nothing tastes good, you don't want nothing to eat, you just want to chomp on ice. It's like things like that I don't stress over, because if I lose a few pounds, hey, why not? As long as something's not out of the ordinary, I don't sweat it. If I drop 20 pounds in a week, I'm going to the doctor. No doubt about it, because something's wrong there. 49, changes in body odor. A lot of women complain about this. You start sweating more, your sweat starts smelling stronger. Vaginal odor seems stronger. A lot of it's in our mind, or our nose is just extremely sensitive. We do experience that too, where our senses become extremely heightened. And you can bathe and shower as much as you want to. The fact is, sometimes you smell things that nobody else smells, and you think your body is reeking, and some women do. They get an increased smell, or increase in odor, and all I can say is, if that's the case, get a better deodorant, and make sure that you take care of your hygiene down there and keep that all balanced out. 50, puffy eyes. I haven't experienced puffy eyes. That can't be good. 51, facial pallor or flushing. Part of the hot flash phase. Some days my face is red all day long, and I feel like I'm on the edge of a hot flash all day long. My face would just be red, and it's just one of those things. It goes with it. Especially if you're having hot flashes, some women get beet red. 52, arthritis flare-ups. So again, painful joints and stuff like that. There's a lot of natural things you can do out there to take care of those issues. 53, loss of bone density. This is where we need to get our bone density levels checked, especially if you've been lactose intolerant most of your life, because if your body's not retaining any type of calcium in it, and which calcium can be difficult to absorb sometimes, make sure you get your bone densities checked so that you know where you're at on that, and so you and your doctor can start rectifying that before you end up the old lady with a hump on the back, or brittle bones, broken hips, and stuff like that prematurely. 53, loss of bone density. No, I just read that. 54, dry hair and skin. My skin does not feel like my skin anymore. I'm not sure whose skin I got, but man, it sucks. It's like constant battle to keep my skin feeling normal. It's just awful. It's like my skin on my legs gets almost ashy looking. So lots of lotions, do what you can. Brittle nails, I have that right now, and this has been the first time in my life that I have ever noticed, even with being anemic off and on for years, that I've noticed that my nails feel thin and they seem to break really easy now. So I will be finding a way to rectify that situation, but they'll get like flaky, just little things can cause them to break or crack. 56, itchy crawly skin. Sometimes it feels like I have bugs crawling on me, for no apparent reason. or I will itch like crazy, just have spots, just start itching like crazy. My chest is like the worst one. Like sometimes I'll just get like a rash across my chest for no reason. Well, the reason is, in reality, that we start having allergy sensitivities. As we go through this, our histamines act up on things that we've done our whole life, on things we've eaten our whole life. And it may not be all the time that you're experiencing this. It could just be around certain times of the month, but you can bet your butt that itchy skin like that, or you just have spots that just drive you crazy suddenly, it's something to do with histamines in your body fighting whatever you ate that day. Most likely it's something you ate that day that your body's having a reaction to. Now, that's not to say that you're having a food allergy and you need to go to the hospital. A lot of times these histamines, you just have histamine flare-ups. I'm not allergic to tuna, but sometimes I could eat tuna and my skin will itch afterwards. I've never experienced any other symptom other than itchy skin. So, but if you start having difficulty breathing or swelling in the face, if you get that rash across here, you better get your ass to the hospital. Call an ambulance. Whatever you got to do. Let me see. '57. Loss of muscle tone. Absolutely. I mean, this is where the old lady sag and flab kicks in. And it's just part of life, ladies, where everything starts sagging, our muscles get weaker. It sucks, but we're getting older. We're moving into our granny years. Just deal with it. You want to work out and fix it, do it. If not, and you're like me, you're just embracing it as it comes, then good luck. Dry, itchy eyes and busted veins. I have experienced this quite a bit, actually. In the last, let me see, 3 years, I notice my eyes start itching all the time, especially in the mornings. I'll wake up, my eyes just itch, itch, itch. And I'll get a busted vein in my eye. When it first happened, it freaked me out. I didn't know what in the world. I was like, oh man, maybe I got an aneurysm. No, it's just, sometimes you could sneeze, you could cough, you could rub your eye and cause one of those veins to pop. We're getting older. Those little tiny veins, they just pop sometimes. And usually within 5 days it's gone away. See, pelvic or vulva pain. Yeah. That happens. I had vulva pain. I'm not sure what that was about, but apparently a lot of women experience it. And pelvic pain. I've had spasms down there, and it's just not a good time. It usually only lasts for a day, but it's not a good time. My solution is Epsom salt bath. Just sit in some Epsom salt water, and that usually helps put that in check. And then, you know what to do for the next time. Teeth aching. Sometimes, now I have a denture, but sometimes it feels like I still have those teeth there, like those bones and stuff. It will just ache like crazy. So I don't know why that happens, but it's awful. 61, burning tongue. This has been a experience that has come and gone throughout the last 9 years of my change. Some months, all month long, my tongue will burn. And then there's months or months on end where I don't notice at all. But it's a real thing, and it's horrible. It just happens. 62 is memory loss. You're not losing your mind. You do not have dementia, and you do not have Alzheimer's. You know, you're experiencing memory loss as part of this. And there are supplements you can take that helps that a lot. So do your research and find out what works best for you, and make sure that you take the right doses of things. If you're going to try the natural oil route for this, please, dear God, read up on how many drops to take. Don't just, you know, dump it on your croissant and guzzle it down, because you can kill yourself with that stuff. You can put too much of a natural oil on and cause your kidneys and liver and everything to shut down, and it can kill you. Trust me, it can kill you. These oils are super concentrated from thousands of plants, you know, to get that pressed amount of oil. So, you know, if you're taking in lavender, you're not, that drop of oil contains more than one little lavender oil or lavender plant, you know. That's containing thousands of lavender plants. So bad in my life. And I tell you what, I was just up in Kentucky. I wasn't in the state of Kentucky for 3 hours before my allergies were going crazy just from that trip. When I come back to Florida, same. All right, so 66, increase or worsening of allergies. This is a real thing, and I just experienced it definitely with going from state to state. My allergies kicked my butt, and it's still, you know, even being back in Florida, my allergies are still acting up really bad. So I wasn't meaning for my first video about perimenopause to be so long, but I just wanted everybody to be aware that there are 66 symptoms. In reality, more than that, because something that wasn't mentioned that I noticed was oxygen hunger. And it's like you just have days where you just feel like you can't get a deep breath, you know, all day long. You just feel like you're not getting enough oxygen. You are, because I got an oxygen sensor to check that. But you just have days where you experience some things like that. And you know, and I checked with my perimenopause group that I belong to. It's this women's support group, and they, you know, and many of us experience this almost monthly like clockwork. So if you're experiencing this and you're worried, like, you know, I've been a smoker for 30 some years of my life, and you know, so it had been a concern. I went to Walmart and picked up one of those little finger clip-on oxygen sensors to check myself out, and also keep me from feeling so anxious and panicky about things like that when they happened. You know, I also bought myself a blood pressure cup. My blood pressure's fine, you know, but let me tell you something. When you have an anxiety attack because you just had a heart palpitation or something, your blood pressure will go up a little bit because you're anxious and your adrenaline's pumping through your body. There are so many things that we're going to experience and unpleasantness with this. You know, just hang in there, ladies, because what you're feeling is natural. It is par for the course. You know, so good luck, and feel free to comment and ask any questions that you have. I am a real woman going through my change of life, like so many are, and I've had to do so much research because I had nobody in my family to turn to ask any of this stuff to. And you know, I was just at a loss, and after just years and years of doing research to find out what was going on with my body, you know, I started to understand how things work together. So I would be happy to hear from anybody out there. You know, also, please subscribe, because you're helping me out when you subscribe. Subscribe, click that little like button, and spread the word and send people my way, you know, so that they can get the real lowdown on what I'm going through every month right alongside you. Thank you for joining me.